Okay, hello and welcome to the Stamina Templar PvE damage build for Summerset. I'm just going to dive straight into it really. So these are the first overlooks of all your stats. Firstly, you put all your attributes into stamina, as you should with all stamina DDs. HP, anything above 16k. Stamina ends up at 36k with the jewelry traits we've chosen. We always use the lover now. Simply because weapon damage is pretty bad at scaling with your light and heavy attacks now, and it's nice just to get that consistent level of penetration given that Sunderflame and Nightmother's Gaze was changed, so you'll be always running the lover at this point. Resistances are semi-okay, weapon damage and criticals low, it's Polar Potion. Yeah, so buffed it's about 3.5k, 55% weapon crit, which is respectable, and the bow is of course a little bit low, and reasonable recovery also. So yeah, that's it for the stats. On to CP next. Again with the red one, it's not going to really matter what you choose. The standard one, 49 hardy, 49 defender, 48 big skinned, big into ironclad, big into medium armor focus. The reason I use medium armor focus is because you're in the grill of a boss a lot. It's going to hit you and damage you a lot more. Again, as long as you've got a good chunk in tenacity, good chunk into stam recovery, doesn't really matter where you put it. However, I put 48 into warlord, 2 sprinter, and 48 tumbling. For blue, always go 64 mighty. Formatage, you always go 61. Again, this is for a raid setup only. With the lover and 16 piercing along with all your raid buffs, you should be reaching penetration cap. So that means you can put 61 into precise strikes and 48 into master at arms. As far as gear goes, let's better explain it. Yeah, gear. Celine's is your go-to monster set now. Max stamina is one of the best modifiers for damage this patch, given the changes to light and heavy attack scaling, so the max stamina is always nice. Also, Power of the Light can't crit. The second explosion, which does about 3k of your damage, which is empowered, I'm not sure if it's primarily or just solely by max stamina, but it helps a lot. Also, you deal a lot of direct damage on the Templar, which means Celine's procs quite a lot. You can do up to about between 1.5 to 2k DPS self-buffed with this. Other options include Storm Fist if you're struggling to sustain and want the recovery, Velodrift if you want some AoE capacity, or that's about it really. I wouldn't recommend any of the others because it's going to be netting you less damage. The gear, the 5-piece you need active on both bars is going to be Reliquins. I was hesitant to put this out on any DPS kind of passes or builds on the PTS because I honestly thought it was going to get nerfed. It's crazy strong at the minute. Can deal up to, I'm not even a light attack build. I consider myself still a heavy attack Templar doing maybe 3 heavies a rotor, and it still does 5.6k damage. It's got some obvious drawbacks to it, with one being that it's only one target, I believe, which means that if you're in an AoE situation, you're going to be doing no damage to the other targets. The other disadvantages include it takes some time, I'm kind of varying based on how many light attacks you do, to build up those 20 stacks. So if you're constantly moving, I would not recommend using this set, and if you're going for a trial that involves a lot of AoE targets, I probably wouldn't use this one. I would probably go for the Advancing Yokeda, but that's a whole other story. Second set is always going to be War Machine. War Machine and Advancing Yokeda do roughly the same damage this patch. It roughly adds about 3 to 4k. However, War Machine gives you Major Slayer to 2 allies as well, which makes it quite handy. It's always buffing your group. There's always the argument that the Major Slayer is not needed, as Mag Nightblades and Stam Nightblades are going to be running it. But I just feel like if it's improving your own damage by the highest amount, then you might as well give extra Major Slayer to other people, even if they're already getting it, just to try to improve the uptime some more. Maelstrom Bow is always going to be your choice. There's just no comparison when it comes to the bow. The Maelstrom Bow is always the strongest. Master Bow, this kind of matches it in single target, however this will hit all targets. So any fight where there's at least one dimension bow is always going to win. Weapon traits, 900 on your main hand to get the full 100 and something weapon damage bonus, and then infused on the offhand. For jewelry traits, I've gone all weapon damage enchantments and all bloodthirsty. The reason being, even with bloodthirsty knocked down to 10% damage, it still does exactly the same damage as robust and infused, except this gives you a distinct advantage during execute phase. So on the Templar, where we had about 39k stamina before we went into bloodthirsty, we can afford to drop burst. We will still keep a healthy stamina pool. Bloodthirsty is going to be incomparable to the other traits. Even if this thing hit less than robust, I'd still wear 3 pieces because it just absolutely trivializes raid execute phases, and will definitely help lesser teams or anybody struggling to complete some content to definitely get through it. I think that's all for gear. Skill setups is again as always rearm and trap. Blazing Spear. Blazing Spear got Burning Light, sorry. Got buffed by 9% this patch, making it kind of... Ooh, and the thing it replaced was Cloak on my front bar. Cloak got nerfed by 15% this patch, making it kind of weak. Blazing Spear got buffed by 9%, or the Burning Light did, which is its damage. So it kind of means that if you want to go full damage, Blazing Spear is definitely your option, but if you're still in some fights that have ridiculous amounts of AoE, or you feel you want the extra survivability, then Blade Cloak is fine. Jabs, obviously it stays on your bar. Rending Slashes is really nice. In trash packs you would take Rending Slashes off for Steel Tornado to get some AoE capacity, and then Power of the Light. Really important to keep this up as much as possible for the Minor Fracture and Breach. And then Crescent Sweep on your front bar if you're using War Machine. Fighters Guild, Dawnbreaker if you're not. However, I use Fighters Guild on the bow bar anyway, just for some extra weapon damage. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that for the Piercing Spear passive, for 10% extra crit damage, you need to have at least 1 Ajax Spear ability on both bars. It's why I keep Blazing Spear on the bow bar as well, just to proc that passive. So I'm double barring it even though I wouldn't usually. In a raid, you can take that off for Vigor, because the 10% critical damage bonus isn't really that important on your bow bar, because you're not really doing a lot of damage on your bow bar. The rotor primarily uses, kind of maximizes all the damage on your dual wield bar, and you're doing barely any on your bow. I think the other major change I've done this patch is switch from Razor Caltrops to Anti-Cavalry. I found during the PTS period that the only difference between the two, is that Razor Caltrops is an initial explosion, which was averaging maybe 300 DPS over the whole fight, while this removes that initial explosion but changes the duration from 12 seconds to 14. And I think you'll find, well, I did some testing on Stamina DK, Stamina Warden, Stam Nightblade and Stam Templar, and I've always found that Caltrops always falls off the bar, as in it uses up its full 12-second duration. So you find that the 2 seconds onto Anti-Cavalry actually nets you more damage because your Caltrops isn't running out and it has a higher uptime. And then again, Repentance on your bow bar, always to get you that stamina back. It's really nice if you're in training runs actually to repent your teammates, or in fights where there's ads, kind of like the shulks on first boss V-Health and trash packs and stuff. It's just proper nice. Race, again, sorry, forgot to put this up. Always Red Guard, simply because they have the best sustain. Khajiits are kind of at a rough point here. They before used to be the best damage class, but worse sustain. But I feel like with Bloodthirsty becoming a more prominent choice, when they take off the robust duels, as Khajiit would have maybe 31k stamina, which is just way too low, in my opinion anyway. Just have a quick look at the other set that we could be running. Advancing Yokeda, when you deal melee damage, increases your critical strike rating by 400 for 5 seconds. So when that stacks 5 times, you get 2000, which translates to a flat 10% weapon damage, weapon critical, sorry. The really important factor about this is you can transmute your jewels, so you no longer have to run healthy jewelry and heavy armor pieces. You can run 2 weapons and 3 jewels. It also follows you to your bow bar, meaning essentially you're getting the bonus on both bars even though you've only got it active on one. When I was testing this, I was getting maybe 91 to 92% uptime on all 5 stacks, even when switching onto my bow bar for 3 skills. I've seen on other videos some people are getting a bit luckier, maybe getting 5% uptime on all stacks, but even still this thing is really strong, and in raids when you're getting extra critical proc and major force, this thing's going to be really, really good. I still believe this thing might outpass War Machine, although it's got to be really, really close, and I don't think it will really matter what you choose. Of course, War Machine is a harder grind in Halls of Fabrication to get, in exchange for a better group buff, but Advancing Yokeda will drop a normal Hellra, which is considerably easier to farm. However, will require chance mute jewels for your jewelry, crystals, sorry. And yeah. Other choices, if you don't have Reliquants yet, you would run Automaton until you do farm it, simply because that's the best raw damage. I think that about covers the gear CP description and stuff. Now for the rotor. This one will be strictly War Machine, because I'm not using Advancing Yokeda on this build yet. So when you open an engagement, you always start with Trap, Hail, Caltrops, Injection, and then on your first part of your rotor you will light attack Crescent Sweep, light attack Power to Light, light Rending Slashes, light Trap, light Spear, light Jabs, light Power to Light. Then you do your bow bar again. Except when you do it normally now, you do light Jabs, light Power to Light, and then heavy Trap, heavy Rending, light Blazing Spear, light Power to Light. And then when your Crescent Sweep's ready for the third part of the rotation, you go light Crescent Sweep, light Power to Light, and then you go back to normally doing heavy Trap, heavy Rending, light Blazing Spear, light Power to Light. I will put this in the description as well, it'll be written, so you can kind of have a look at it, screenshot it on your phone, and practice it if need be. I'm just going to quickly speed this up actually, and do a full 6 mil. We're doing DPS tests as well to compare between CP allocations, gear situations. Always use the 6 mil and try to keep to your health bonus. I've seen a lot of people running like 11k HP, which is just pretty retarded. You need to try to keep your recovery what you'll get in raids. If you don't keep to this shit, like if you start stacking silly amounts of penetration, I know I did it on the PTS because I was just comparing different classes, but it's going to seriously skew your results. And free mills as well. Like I'm not just saying don't do free mills because they're cheesy. I just say don't do free mills because their information is inaccurate. I could go on the free mill now and use a completely different gear setup and hit harder because it's more bursty, and then on the 6 mil hit lower to a different set. So I'd be thinking, running around going, oh my god, this new set is BIS, when actually it isn't. It's just more bursty on a 3 mil dummy than it is on the 6. So I'd highly recommend this. I'll just charge my up. I forgot on your bow bar, always use these poisons. I think this is common knowledge by now that you should run a poison enchant on your axe, weapon enchantment on your second hand, and then always use these damage health poisons with these potions. There we are. Okay, let's see what this thing hits. Okay, so in full trial gear, 16 points of penetration with the lever. So that was in this gear. With 3 bloodthirsty, this hit 41.7k. There's no major fracture. It's completely alone in this house. I think the key things to note, more importantly though, apart from the number, is major slayer. So 40% on a static rotation. Yeah, I mean you could min-max and get it better, but it would just cause a hell of a lot of explaining. When I was doing the dynamic rotation for War Machine, I found that it needed a lot more concentration than it was worth. So I think you'd get about 44 to 45% if you made it dynamic, and you'd squeeze a little bit more damage. But you'd be able to focus less on radar mechanics, and you'd have to focus more on your rotation, while this one is completely static. So another key thing to note is Ideal Arms and Reliquin. I'm still completely baffled how this thing didn't get a nerf, simply because it's fucking powerful. Like, I mean, what Hunding's Rage used to do, what, 5-6% of your overall damage, this is now 13.5. I get it, it's got its limitations. It took time to build up, and it's purely single target, and again, if you stop attacking the target, you're going to lose it. But even still, it's a bit ridiculous. Then anti-cavalry Caltrops. Is there a way to check the uptime on? No, it doesn't tell me my Caltrops uptime. It would have been higher though with anti-cavalry over Razor. Paradolite. Celine's did 2k, which is really, really powerful actually for a monster set. Yeah, what else? Burning Light. Burning Light could have been higher. Again, that's just RNG because of its proc rate. Yeah, 25% chance. So it can be a bit RNG. So I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching, and see you next time.